Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the It's in Queens podcast, covering the second week in March 2008. That's March 8th to 7th, 14th, but we are especially heavy on activities on March 10th and 11th. As always, I am Rob Mackay from the Queens Tourism Council, and to my left is a man who needs no introduction.
I want to do it anyway.
Okay, but for the sake of protocol, his name is Chris Donovan, and he works for the Daily News, which co-sponsors this podcast. How are you, Chris?
Very good. Very good. Happy to be here, as always.
Happy to be here, as always. Good. So why don't we start off with your thoughts on, if I say Martin Luther King Jr., what do you think? What comes to mind?
I think he's got a great holiday in January.
Okay.
Right? Civil rights leader. Assassinated in Memphis.
Yeah, Memphis, Tennessee.
All right.
So there's a very interesting theater production at Queens Theater this weekend. It's showing three times, twice on March 10th and once on March 11th. It is an imagined conversation between Martin Luther King Jr. and a maid in the hotel in Memphis the night before he was assassinated. If you'll remember, on April 3rd, 1960, we're also celebrating the 50th anniversary of his. I don't know if we're celebrating.
Well, not celebrating.
We're
We're commemorating. Yeah, we're commemorating. It's definitely a better way to say that.
On April 3rd, he was in Memphis, Tennessee. He was organizing the sanitation workers, and he gave the "I've been to the mountaintop" speech.
That's right. Very famous.
That night, he went back to that hotel, and the next day, he was, of course, killed just outside the hotel room 309. So this play imagines him ordering room service because he's got a lot to do,
Sure.
and a beautiful young maid shows up. She's on her first day of work, and then they just kind of take it from there.
Well, it's a great device, isn't it? I mean, you can kind of imagine doing it with a lot of different.
Sure.
You can imagine the conversation in your head and sort of write it down and act it out.
And the whole idea of we know what's about to happen,
Right.
but obviously they don't.
Right.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting.
And this one was written by Katori Hall, right?
Yes.
And
What do you know about her?
well, I know that the play appeared in London in 2009, and it was like off the chart, great reviews.
Okay.
That's kind of where it was incubated.
Is
and
that
then-
with Angela Bassett, or was that the other one?
I don't know who was the star of that production. I just have that's all I had on that. But I know this one is being directed by Shirley Jo Finney, who's an actress that's been around in Hollywood quite some time. She was on Lou Grant, shows like Night Court, Hill Street Blue, a lot of like guest spots here and there,
okay.
and she brings a lot of experience to the table. So it should be a
okay.
great production
I
by
think,
the LA Theater Works.
Yeah, I think either the London run or the play had a Broadway run too, and I think Samuel Jackson was Martin Luther King, and Angela Bassett was the maid
Oh.
in one of those runs. I think it was the Broadway one.
Okay.
So this will be kind of interesting, and we have a special offer for people who consume this podcast. If you go to the Queens Theater website and buy tickets and use the promo code QTC30,
QTC 30.
you will be able to buy the $42 tickets for $30. You know, the way the theater is arranged, the $20 tickets are over here, and it goes down to the best ones are $42. You can get them for $30 with the promo code QTC30.
Just another reason to listen to this
Another
podcast.
reason to listen to this podcast, and Queens Tourism Council 30.
There you go.
The other thing, there's something that's kind of near and dear to my heart, and it's the Reelabilities Film Festival.
Oh yeah, this is a great one.
So Reelabilities is spelled REEL abilities. It is an annual festival that shows works that deal with people with disabilities and, of course, the families and loved ones who take care of them. It shows throughout the 5 boroughs, but it's showing in Queens. The Queens Central YMCA, which is actually YMHA, Hebrew Academy, Hebrew Association, has been showing it for years, and so they're actually going to have a few screenings, but I believe the Museum of the Moving Images too. And it's a really great. They're showing films all around the city. We're lucky to have some in Queens. They deal with every single kind of disability you can imagine. And there's actually a local Queen.
Right.
There's a movie dealing with a local Queens.
The Perfectly Normal About Me is the name of the movie. Perfectly Normal for Me is the name of the movie, and it actually takes place in Queens at a school called Dancing Dreams in Bayside. I watched the trailer. I'm a little bit of a sap, but the tears were already being produced by just watching the trailer, just watching these teachers interact with the students, and the look of joy and happiness on the students' faces were incredible. And that was just a trailer.
And this is a public school that mixes the two.
That's
They
right.
mix people with disabilities and other students. My daughter actually, she used to go to Hunters Point Community Middle School, which is down in Long Island City, and they had a floor. There was a high school, there was the elementary school, and then there was also a floor for children with disabilities. So they interacted all the time. I guess that's kind of the new philosophy.
Well, I went to PS 152 in Queens, and we had a couple of special ed classes, and our gym classes were intertwined with each other, so that way we could all interact together.
Okay.
So I think that, then to me, it gave me growing up a better respect and understanding of people with disabilities, because you got to interact with them. Some people can go a large portion of life without ever meeting somebody with a disability and sort of not know how to act. And honestly, the only thing they really want is just to be treated like normal people. And I don't mean normal, I mean just people without disabilities.
Run of the mill.
Right.
I watched a couple of years ago, there was a fascinating movie about a guy who had lost his legs in the Iraq campaign.
Okay.
And he was actually there to speak at the end.
No
and
kidding.
That was great. Yeah.
That had to be inspiring.
This year, as always, the films come from all over. I know there's an Israeli one, and I know that there's a short where young children who have OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, talk about how they deal with it.
No kidding.
So that's kind of interesting too.
Wow.
The ones at the Queen Central Y in Forest Hills are on March 11th and March 12th. However, like I said, the films are showing all over the borough or the city, and there are a couple of other spots that it's showing in our borough. I would suggest going to the Reelabilities Film Festival website.
Absolutely.
Probably
That's a nice one. That's going to be a good one.
All right, let's continue with the questions. What do you know about the Punjab?
So I was very intrigued by this. I said, how is this going to mix? Because it's like techno and Punjab music, and I'm just like, I couldn't believe it. So I looked it up, and I found a couple of videos, a couple of songs from this guy, DJ Swami, right? That's his name.
DJ Swami is coming to Queens.
And it turns out not only does he do this, but he's also produced for Shania Twain, Maxi Priest, Queen's own DMC from Run DMC. He's worked with him. And then he's done remixes for Erasure. And then on top of that, he's also toured as a guitarist with Robbie Williams' Boyzone and Blue, which are a British band. So he's British-based, but obviously his background is...
He must be Punjabi.
Yeah.
So Punjab is, of course, a region in northwestern India. It's the original. It's where the Sikhs originally came from.
Okay.
My father-in-law, who is not Sikh, who's Hindu, actually was born in Punjab.
Okay.
So this guy DJ Swami, who I believe grew up in England but of Punjabi parents,
Yes.
will be doing his techno DJ stuff while traditional Punjabi folk musicians play on the stage. This is at Flushing Town Hall on March 10th at 8 o'clock. So that should be kind of fun.
It sounds great. Is that part of that World
There's that
Series that they're doing, or
yeah,
is this a separate program?
I'm not sure, but it sounds like a great sort of a mixture of the two worlds, a mixture of two cultures.
And the Flushing Town Hall does that better than anybody.
Flushing Town Hall has a great spot to watch a concert. It also has a great little dance thing. So if you want to dance while you're there.
Well, you know me, Rob. I love dancing.
Okay, that's very good.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention before we get to the others are high tea.
Oh.
What do you know about high tea?
Well, it turns out it is not taking edibles and drinking tea. That's what I thought it was.
Oh, is it?
It has nothing to do with marijuana.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know what high tea really is.
High tea. You can learn about the history of high tea. The British get this. I guess you have scones or biscuits or crumpets and tea. My mother actually grew up part of her youth in England, and we spent a whole summer there when I was a kid. And I remember the entire country at like 3:30 stopped to take tea. I don't know if that's still that now, but back then that was very interesting to me. But you can find out about the history of tea during a lecture, during a special event at Maple Grove Cemetery, which is in Kew Gardens. The Friends of Maple Grove Cemetery, which is just a nonprofit that helps out, they do a lot of great events, and this one will also include a costume party.
That's right.
The idea is to simulate an afternoon tea in 1914. So
Right.
you
That's
come
the time
dressed,
period.
and they will give a prize for the best costume.
Best period costume. That's right.
Best 1914. I don't know anything about 1914 fashion. Do you?
I got nothing on 1914.
When did the flappers come in?
I would say
I
the
don't wanna-
20s.
20s. So don't dress as a flapper.
No, no
Dress as
jazz,
a
no bathtub
pre-flapper.
gin.
Yeah, I don't know.
The undertones are providing the entertainment.
Yeah,
It turns out they are not the pop punk Irish band that
Oh,
I thought they were going to be.
They're
playing some
from
period
the
music.
1914.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Okay. So there's a lot of actual classical music that I'm just going to do quickly.
Yeah, sure, go.
At the Underdonk House, which we talked about last week, it's
Mm-hmm.
the historical Dutch house in Ridgewood. They will be playing 18th century music and giving tours and doing other kind of hands-on activities over there.
That's from the Ministers of Apollo. Is
The
that
Ministers
one?
of Apollo.
Yeah, these guys dress in historically accurate costumes.
18th
and-
century.
And even the textiles are produced in those
In that
methods.
style?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
You know that the Underdonk House does have a guy who comes out and makes wampum during some of those events.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The Conbrio Ensemble, which is a kind of a well-known Forest Hills-based chamber music group, will be performing at the Volker Orth Museum in Flushing. And what else should we say? The Jackson Heights Orchestra will be performing actually in Astoria.
Yeah,
Hey, they're
right.
going out of their borough.
They need a passport to get
Yes,
there? Or?
they'll be doing live music by Sibelius. Is that how you pronounce it?
I'm going to go with yes.
Beethoven and Haydn.
I think it's Beethoven.
Beethoven. Anything? What do you think about that?
Well,
Anything,
you know what? I grew up in Jackson Heights, and if I knew there was an orchestra, maybe I would have started.
You would have ran away and joined the orchestra
earlier on in my career. But the Jackson Heights Beautification Group are the people that are
it's a
behind
local civic
that.
group, very good.
Yeah, and they're very involved in the neighborhood.
they
and
do a lot
they
of good
good stuff.
I have something which I think I'm going to try and get my kids to do, and that is a night hike through Willow Lake in Flushing Meadows, Corona Park, with urban rangers.
Right.
So it should be safe, and we can go and check out all the nocturnal animals.
That sounds very cool.
I'm hoping to see some owls.
Yeah. What else you got?
Well, maybe
got any
some
raccoons in
owls, probably
Queens?
some raccoons. Yeah, we got raccoons. What else comes up? Possums. I don't want to see those. They're very ugly. But we'll see. Maybe some kinds of birds. It could be fun. It also could be kind of scary to be walking around the meadow.
Well,
lake
there's a
at
little
night.
sense of danger there, right? Even though you're being accompanied with the urban park rangers, who, I didn't know do so much programming throughout the 5 boroughs and all the parks.
Yeah.
We actually have a couple other things coming up on March 18th. They're doing Native American games, and on March 31st they're doing the Stargazing Club. So they kind of
Stargate. Is that in Flushing Meadow?
that
Corona
is
Park?
that one is in Flushing Meadow, Corona Park.
Very nice.
The other one's in a
Very
different
nice.
park. Yeah.
Very good. A whole bunch of other things. The Theater by the Bay in Bayside is presenting a play called Beau Geste, which is about a nice Jewish girl who is dating a goy, a non-Jewish boy, and she invites the guy over to her parents to have dinner with her parents, and shall we say hilarity ensues?
You took the words right out of my mouth. Very nicely done. Yep, hilarity ensues.
Don't tell me we've been working together so long that we finish each other's
Sentences?
All right. There's also, if you want to learn paper cutting, Queens
this is
Botanical
cool.
Garden is the place. What
Yeah.
do you have to say about that?
No, it's just it's a ancient art, right? Not so. I mean, 3 BC around there, I think is where
That's pretty ancient.
Yeah, it's pretty ancient, right?
Yeah.
But they were sort of like they were put in windows as decorations, and the art. It's very intricate. It's really beautiful, and I would imagine it takes some time to master it.
Okay. So other things include a lecture on New York City in 1857 at the King Manor Museum, a book signing at the Onderdonk House. The book is entitled "Girl Gangs, Biker Boys, and Real Cool Cats: Pulp Fiction and Youth Culture." Live drawing with models. If you want to learn you want to draw with other people who draw and study the human art form.
That's right.
That would be
all abilities are welcome.
all abilities are welcome. It's a very sort of non-judgmental environment.
That's
over
right.
at Flushing Town Hall. The Queens College has its ongoing reading series, and on March 13th, The panel discussion will be about American theater, specifically women in American theater. And they've got a couple women, Lisa Cron, who won a Tony for Fun Home.
Nice.
She's a playwright. Kia Corthan, another playwright. Patricia Ione Lloyd and Montel Hurst Mendoza will all discuss women in theater. Much better than whatever the Oscars gave us last Sunday.
Yeah, that was a little weak.
So anything else? I guess there's the other thing is that Judith Sloan. Have you ever met Judith Sloan?
No.
She lives in my neighborhood. She's
a Sunnyside resident.
She's an artist. She's an artiste. She did the book Crossing the Boulevard.
Yes, I remember that.
You remember that?
Yeah.
She is, you'd call her left wing. You'd call her dramatic. She has a lot of pieces. She's had pieces on NPR and WBAI. She is right now commissioned to write a play called It Can Happen Here. And while she's writing it, she's seeking the community's input. And she is holding an event at Jamaica Performing Arts Center on March 10th where she will tell stories and do other kinds of dialogue in front of as many people that want to come, and they can tell her stories, and she's going to, put it all together as part of her play. Yep.
Yeah. So another one of those work in progress.
Yes, a work in progress where you can be part of the work and the progress. She's talking about xenophobia and repression. I know that she is never Trumper.
I would imagine.
And so we'll see how she leads the.
Turns out xenophobia has nothing to do with Xena Warrior Princess. I found that out the hard way.
But Xena Warrior Princess is from Queens or no?
Don't think so. She
is
Australian.
A queen. She's Australian?
Yeah.
She's from Queensland.
Yeah. Right, there you go.
Okay. That's it for me. Am I missing anything?
No,
Chris, this is your turn to shine.
Oh, you know what? I really appreciate you putting it. There's one thing we didn't talk about that I thought was hilarious. There's a play called The Underpants Godot at the Secret Theater.
Waiting for Godot.
And it's sort of a guy who's trying to put Waiting for Godot on as a show, but he wants the gentlemen to perform in their underwear. And it's more for his
sexual pleasure
than anything else. And then he ends up getting busted by someone from the Godot estate. And
really?
Yeah. So and then hilarity ensues.
Hilarity ensues. Hilarity ensues. Hilarity in underpants.
That's
ensue.
right. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I thought that was funny.
Everybody, thank you very much. As always, more information is on www.itsinqueens.com. Plus, all of these will be posted at different times during the week on Instagram and Facebook. It's always hashtag It's in Queens, Facebook.com/It's in Queens, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you very much.
We should also mention, make sure you get your early bird tickets for the Queen's Taste.
Okay.
That's happening May 1st at New York Hall of Science.
Queen's Taste is a huge food event. We get about 60 vendors and about 700 people that come and try samples of all the local cuisine. I was working on that today. As of right now, we have about 45 vendors.
I know we'll get back to 60.
Cuban, Mexican.
You want to travel
Indian,
the world?
Chinese.
You come to New York Hall of Science.
It's going to be
you can
great.
Do it in one stop.
Yes. Cypriot. Anyway, the early bird special, you can save $125. Go to thequeenstaste.com. So with two things are itsinqueens.com, thequeenstaste.com. Thank you very much for listening to us. Thank you very much for putting up with us. And
we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Enjoy Queens.